how I got accepted into dental school in 3 different countries as an international student. Hey guys, and welcome to my very first video on this YouTube channel. For those of you who don't know me, which will probably be all of you guys, my name is Juhi. I'm currently a second-year dental student studying at the University of Heidelberg in Germany, and yes, I study in Germany, and yes, I study completely in German. But for the sake of this video and for the majority of my upcoming videos, I'll most likely be speaking in English. So as somebody who has had some experience applying to study dentistry as an international student abroad, I just kind of wanted to sit down and have a little chat with you guys and give you some tips that I found extremely helpful during my application process to study in the UK, in Germany, as well as in Australia. So my tip number 1 is to stay on top of your deadline game. Now, I kid you not when I say this, but it is so important to make sure that you stick to your schedule in terms of your deadlines. So what I mean with this is that just bear in mind that different unis in different countries may actually have different deadlines for their applications. I know this may sound super obvious, but trust me, when you're in the application process, when you have a lot of things going on, lots of things that are required from you by your own school, as well as outside of your own school and your own country, you might forget when to apply on time. I know, for example, when I was applying to the UK, the deadline was the 15th of October the year before I graduated. So that was in year 11 because I would have graduated in year 12. Whereas in Germany, you have the advantage of being able to apply twice per year. Obviously, this depends on which uni because not all unis allow you to apply twice. For example, my university in Heidelberg, we're only allowed to apply to study dentistry in the winter semester, but some unis actually start in the summer semester as well. And so just be aware that different countries may have different regulations, different deadlines, and even in the same country, different unis may have different application deadlines. So yeah, I just want to kind of let you guys know if you didn't know before and just inform yourselves, of the different deadlines, because you
never want to end up in a position where you really want to apply to one university, but you can't because you missed the deadline. Trust me, I have been there. It was not a great experience, and I really don't want you to go through the same experience as I did before.
So yeah, just be aware and know when you have to get certain things done at certain times. Now, my second tip is to try, if you can, to self-reflect. Try to spend a few minutes here and there just thinking about what it is that you actually like, what it is that you enjoy doing, what it is that you perhaps dislike, or what are some of the skill sets that you can actually provide to the university or to your community. Just stuff like this, because I think by taking the time to really focus in and answer honest questions to yourself, not only will this be super beneficial for you during your application process, so for example, for when you write your motivational letters or for when you're at the interview stage, but this can really help you grow and develop as a person. I remember when I was applying to study in the UK, we had to write personal statements, but I now know that starting from 2024, you will be required to answer questions. So the system has changed a bit, but the overall principle, so the basis, is relatively similar. There's just one small thing I wanted to add is that I know sometimes it can be super overwhelming when you need to start writing a motivational letter. So for example, in Germany, not all universities require you to write a motivational letter, but at the University of Freiburg and also at the University of Heidelberg, they do require you to write an extra motivational letter. And one advice I can give you here is to kind of break it down into steps. So I remember I was writing down different categories, whether that be sport, hobbies, art, dentistry, reading, and kind of write different words, and then under those words, so under those keywords, I would write down the kind of activities that I did. So under sports, I would write down archery, dancing, I don't know, table tennis, so on and so forth. And then after you write down your different lists as to which activities you've done or which books you've read, or it can be really about anything, and it doesn't have to be super dentistry related. After that, I would kind of prioritize which I find more important in terms of their relevance to dentistry and which I didn't find as important, and then kind of link the different activities to dentistry and then start writing a draft. The main importance here is to really present yourself as a person and try to kind of link different thoughts, different experiences, different reflections, different achievements back to dentistry, because the ultimate goal here is to really explain to the examiners, to the assessors, why it is you want to study dentistry. An example I can give you here is, I remember during COVID, I really wanted to gain some work experience, but just like everybody else, we were all kind of in lockdown. And so I remember online at the time, lots of people were saying,
oh, you have to really stay on top of your game in terms of reading new articles about dentistry and kind of informing yourself.
Which I do agree to some extent. But for me personally, rather than reading about, all of those high-tech, high fancy, very difficult word, language, jargon, articles, I found reading about racial discrimination or ethical dilemmas in dentistry very, very fascinating, because coming from a very international upbringing, I think I'm naturally just more interested in topics like diversity, disparity, discrimination, so on and so forth. And at the time, I was actually learning the British Sign Language. So I thought, why not combine my interests and what I've read together to learn something new? And that ultimately led me to join an online course provided by UNICEF. It was completely free, and it was about communicating with people with disabilities and the different factors that you should take into consideration. And to be honest, I learned so much from this course. It made me kind of more aware and more awake, I guess you could say. For example, in multiple dental practices, even in my neighborhood, when you want to go to a dental practice, oftentimes you would have to walk up the stairs. But for example, with a person sitting on a wheelchair, it's much more difficult to access this dental practice. And so it's just these little factors that I'm now just a bit more aware of. And then, having done this course, I just wanted to gain a bit more real life work experience. And so after the restrictions were kind of lifted off in Germany, I emailed multiple different centers, and then I was very lucky to have been able to volunteer at a local center for children with disabilities. And I got to not only meet so many different people and see and listen to so many different thoughts and perspectives, but I think I really made good connections. And yeah, I remember spending many Sundays walking donkeys around the field. That was very interesting. It was a very fun experience. What I'm trying to get across here is that I not only listed what I achieved or what I was doing, such as learning the British Sign Language and reading articles, but also kind of showing that I took action for what interested me. So that would be, for example, kind of reaching out to different people and trying to gain work experience or volunteer, and then linking this back to dentistry and to why I want to study dentistry. So, you're just trying to link different thoughts, different ideas, different feelings, different experiences back to dentistry. And I think you guys get the idea. And also regarding work experiences, some people may say,
work experience, okay, you don't need to drop every single detail down.
But you do have to remember that this application process is not something you get done in a short period of time. In fact, it's done mostly over 1 or 2 years. And so here I would really recommend you to perhaps get yourself a diary, a journal, or something, or somewhere where you can just write down what it is that you experience on this day during your work experience, whether that be in a dental lab or perhaps in dental practice. I remember I had internships and work experiences in 2 different dental practices near my home in Germany, as well as in a city hospital. And it was a great experience, but I do remember there were a lot of difficult and challenging moments. Of course, you don't need to write huge paragraphs, but just keeping a record of what it is that you experienced during your work experiences, perhaps any questions that you had, or perhaps there were moments that kind of took you by surprise. Writing stuff like this can really help you when you're writing a motivational letter later on, or when you're at the interview, because then you have something to kind of look back on during your preparation. So to give you guys an example, I can actually bring out my laptop here and show you what I mean with self-reflection during my work experiences. So this is just a page that I pulled up showing my reflections for when I did my work experience. Obviously, I'm not saying you have to write paragraphs and paragraphs. This is not just from one work experience, it's from several different work experiences I did over a longer period of time. So yeah, it's just really nice to kind of have everything, or not everything, but some things, some of your thoughts written down, so that when you look on it later, it kind of refreshes your memory so that you don't forget important details. yeah, these are just some photos I took during my time at the dental lab where I just wrote down random things. Like if I look at it right now, I realize, okay, I didn't have a lot of idea as to what I was writing, but just, you know, the act of writing things down may sometimes help in terms of kind of organizing your thoughts, especially if you're a person that likes to write down to kind of find more mental clarity. Then I would highly recommend you to kind of take some time to reflect on your work experiences or just any experiences that you had that could link back to dentistry and your motivations as to why you want to study dentistry. And also, my ears are getting red. I'm not sure if you can see if it's red or not, but it feels very, very warm. So let's get straight on to my third tip for today. To please try and take use of the resources that you have. The first thing I kind of want you guys to take advantage of is the internet. Now, you guys probably spend some time online, such as watching this YouTube video. So if you are, thank you, hit that like button if you guys want to. But what I mean is that for one, I remember during my application process, I felt extremely lost and extremely confused. And I'm not sure if you guys are also in a similar position as to what I was in before during my application round, but to cut it short, when I was applying, my high school had barely any experience sending off students abroad to study subjects like dentistry. And so I wasn't able to get a lot of guidance from my school in terms of the information and the resources. And again, no one in my family really had any experience studying abroad in a different country, especially in a subject like dentistry. And so for me at the time, it was quite stressful. And this is where I want to emphasize the use of the internet, because online you can find so many different and free resources that can be extremely valuable for you for when you want to obtain information, just so that you are a bit more aware of what it is that you actually need to get done for your application. I know, for example, the UCAS, they have a super website with lots of different articles ranging from how to manage and balance your social and uni life with your studies, as to which documents you need to collect for your application. And the same goes to Germany. I know, for example, in Germany, there's a website called Uni Assist, so that means Uni Assist. I think it comes in both English and German. And there you can also find different sections with different information, such as the kind of documents you need, when the deadlines are, how to get your visa, and so on and so forth. And so really, really take advantage of the internet. Trust me, there is so much online that you can gain invaluable information, but also be aware of the kind of information that you see and where this information is coming from, because not everything you see online is true. You know, just keep that in mind. One other thing I would kind of recommend you to use is actually YouTube. I do think there are so many useful and helpful videos on YouTube that can really, really, really enhance your application process. So for example, when I was preparing for the UCAT, I remember I was watching lots of videos on YouTube, and it was basically showing mainly medical students from the UK solving out UCAT problems in real time, and that was giving me a good insight as to how other students think and how they approach certain questions. And I also want to mention that during my interview preparations for the UK, I used a lot of websites, because even if you search up on Google dentistry interview questions, there's so many websites with free questions, free dental interview questions that you can practice. And I also remember watching lots of YouTube videos made from dental and medical students, and they were basically explaining their interview experiences and the kind of questions that could come up in dental interviews. So for example, I remember I was watching a lot of Karma Medic YouTube videos. I remember he made extremely great videos on ethical situations, how to deal with breaking bad news, for example. There's so many other YouTubers that you can kind of look at to help you get a better grasp and answer questions, whether that be UCAT questions, interview questions. And also with work experience, not all work experience has to be in real life. There are also online work experiences that you can sign up for, which are completely free, as well as online courses, such as courses provided by Coursera, for example, or UNICEF, There are so many courses that are completely free and from different subjects, not all dentistry. And I'm not saying you have to, go and do online work experiences or online courses. That's completely up to you. I'm just here to tell you that there are so many different options that you can take, and you don't even need to pay a penny for these courses if you have the internet and if you have time. And I would also like to kind of emphasize the importance of looking at your uni websites. Now, some people may say, okay, looking at uni websites is not that important, but trust me, it is important, because the uni websites, they're basically telling you what they want to see. And I know this sounds kind of vague, but for example, when I was applying to JCU in Australia, I spent some good amount of time looking at their website, looking at the dental program. And when I mean looking at the website, I'm not just saying looking at your dental course. I'm also saying look at the different clubs and societies that the uni offers, what are the kind of values and the principles that the uni emphasizes, because oftentimes, for example, when you're at the interview stage, you may be asked questions such as,
why do you want to study at our university?
Here it would be really nice to already have an idea as to why you want to study at the university, and you can only know this by either visiting the university or perhaps doing some research about the university through the university website, and perhaps you've heard some good stuff from other people, but overall you want to have a personal connection to the university if you can, because that can really drive your motivations even more and more. When I was applying to JCU in Australia, I quickly realized that the university places a lot of value on providing dental care to rural and remote areas that don't really have a lot of access to healthcare. And so I remember writing about my own experience having limited access to healthcare when I was living in a rural town in New Zealand, as well as when I was living in Spain and Brazil, because at the time I couldn't speak the language properly, and so there was a language barrier. JCU had a form where you had to answer questions, but I remember as I was answering these questions, I kind of integrated my experience and the kind of principles and values the university emphasized together. And I think that kind of made me stand out a little bit, because it showed that, okay, not only am I super reflective, but I'm also very aware of what the university kind of values, and have shown that the values that the university has kind of aligns with the values that I have. And so there's kind of like this win-win situation happening. So yeah, like I said before, if you can, try to take a look at what the uni has to offer. And yeah, my last subcategory of tip number 3 to use your resources is to also try to reach out to different people. Now, these can be people from your school, from your home, your family, but also people from the internet even. Because I remember when I was trying to find different information, especially for the UK, I remember there was a phase where I was kind of doubting my abilities and I felt extremely lost, and I just didn't really know how I should approach this whole application process, how I should go about doing my exams or getting letters of recommendations from teachers. And I just really wanted a student's perspective, a student that was studying dentistry at a university in the UK. So I remember I messaged a lot of dental students asking for their advice, or if they could tell me if they knew any international students whom I could contact, just because I wanted, students' perspective and not some statement from a university staff. While that's also great, I just wanted a really, really personal conversation with a student who's already been through that process. So yeah, really do take the time to reach out to people if you can. And even to me, for example, I'm not sure if you have any questions after watching this much of the video, and if you have been watching until this point, thank you so much. I really, really do appreciate it. I just really want to be that person that you can go and ask questions, and hopefully I can answer them, and hopefully I can add some value to your day, because I know what it feels like to be in a position where you feel very lost and very alone, even though you're not actually physically alone. But yeah, I just remember it was a very difficult and stressful period, but if I think about it right now, I really don't regret it. Like, some people ask me,
why did you even apply to the UK or Australia if you're gonna end up studying in Germany?
But to be honest, I don't regret it, because I learned a lot through the different application processes. I learned a lot about myself. I saw and felt and learned my potential. I think I really, really, really tested myself in terms of my determination and my ability to kind of sacrifice things that I like to do in my free time to get to where I am now, and to have been able to receive offers from universities that I dreamed of going to. But I just wanted to have a very honest conversation with you guys, because I know when I was applying, I wanted to hear something like this. I wanted to see a video where I could get a little bit of motivation. And so yeah, I really do hope this video was of some sort of value. If you have made it this far into the video, thank you so much.
I was actually a little bit nervous starting this video because it is my very first video.
If you have any questions, please feel free to write them down in the comments. I'll try my very best to answer them. Yeah, so I wish you all the best for your application, and no matter what happens, believe in yourself because you can do it. So yeah, if you have any questions, please feel free to drop them down in the comment section below. Hit that like button if you want to. And yeah, I'll see you in the next video. I hope you have a wonderful day, morning, night, wherever you are in the world. I send you my best of luck. You know, I'm sending it to you. And yeah, believe in yourself because you can do it.
You make me wanna